I literally had to starve myself on instant noodles for a whole month just to scrape together enough cash to take my girlfriend to the high-end luxury restaurant we had agreed on. Stepping into a prestigious restaurant like Sammy's Island was absolutely no walk in the park for someone like me. I take it this is the absolute best outfit you own, huh? Tang Yu Ru's words pierced straight through my chest like a sharp pair of shears. Yet I found myself completely powerless to fire back. Her face carried a cold, detached indifference, leaving me feeling utterly suffocated. I honestly didn't even have a single clue on how to properly eat the French cuisine laid out on the table. At that exact moment, Tang Yu Ru stood up. It's getting late. We should probably head back. A faint, elegant smile graced her exquisite face as she calmly added, and naturally we are finished as well. Stomping away in her high heels, she strutted right out of the restaurant, and amid the violent roar of a sports car engine, she completely vanished from my sight. The nosy waitress, who had been eagerly whispering and eyeing our drama from the start, walked over and murmured, "Excuse me, sir, but can I clear these dishes away now?" Seeing that I remained dead silent, she cast a disdainful glance at the dirt-cheap clothes on my back. "Sir, I will go ahead and clean up this table." The waitress spoke condescendingly as she reached out to grab the plate right in front of me. My eyes instantly became bloodshot, shot through with crimson veins, and in a raspy, trembling voice, I roared, "Did I give you permission to clear it?" Terrified, the waitress instinctively took a sharp step backward. I glared daggers at her and continued to cross-examine her. Is this how a Michelin-starred restaurant trains its staff to behave? My voice suddenly exploded across the room, causing every single patron around us to instantly turn and stare, feeling utterly humiliated in public. The waitress snapped back aggressively. "Why are you taking your anger out on me? Just because you got dumped? You think you can vent your frustrations on someone else? Take a good look at yourself. No wonder she threw you away like trash." I was so infuriated that I burst into a cynical laugh. The arrogant waitress flinched, fearfully retreating several steps. "What do you think you're doing? Let's see if you can even afford to compensate for any damages. Take a look at where you are before throwing a tantrum." I gasped heavily for air, but the word compensate instantly snapped me back to reality. Security guards rushed over, glaring at me. "Don't let him escape." Right at that moment, two middle-aged men strode in through the main entrance. One was my very own father, while the other was old man Zhao's personal bodyguard. Right? At this moment, my father's brows were knit tight in a deep frown, his entire body radiating a heavily suppressed, boiling rage. I immediately hung my head in shame and walked over. "I'm so sorry, Dad. I've caused trouble for you yet again." 10,000 yuan was absolutely not a small sum, and I was terrified that our family could barely shoulder such a massive financial burden. I fully braced myself for a harsh, brutal scolding, but my father merely let out a faint chuckle. "Smash it all. Since you're miserable today, smash whatever the hell you want. Your old man will take care of absolutely everything." Panicking, I rushed forward to hold him back. "Smash it." The restaurant's security guards instantly surrounded us. Yet not a single soul dared to make a move, completely petrified by the ferocious, terrifying expression of old Zhao, standing at nearly 6'3". His face was marred by a long, jagged scar, and his piercing eyes glared like a wild, predatory beast. "Let's see how you bastards plan on walking out of here alive today. I'll make sure every single one of you gets ruined and goes utterly bankrupt." My father casually waved his hand, completely unfazed. "Listen here, girl. Whatever we compensate goes directly to the establishment. What are you getting so worked up for? Go summon your boss out here right now." Not long after, a high-end Mercedes G-Wagon worth nearly 2 million yuan screeched to a halt right outside. The hotel owner strode with massive paces straight into the lobby. Seeing her big boss arrive, the waitress put on an act to claim credit. Hurrying over to him, "Boss, it's these lowlifes who came here to cause a massive scene. Let's just call the cops." Immediately, the owner looked up at my father walking toward him, and his face instantly turned an indescribably pale, horrific shade of white. "It seems your managerial capabilities are utterly pathetic and mediocre, aren't they? I know my own son's temperament inside out. He practically never loses his temper under normal circumstances. This time, someone must have explicitly trampled all over his dignity." The hotel owner was so terrified that both of his legs began to tremble violently. "I am incredibly sorry, big boss." In that exact split second, the waitress and the security guard stood, frozen like statues, while old Zhao's expression remained entirely unchanged, maintaining his grim, imposing stance right behind my father. My father cast his eyes upon the waitress. By now, she was paralyzed with such pure, unadulterated terror that she couldn't utter a single syllable, the phone in her hand slipping and clattering loudly onto the floor. At this very moment, the hotel owner didn't even dare to let out a single cough, not breathing a word as he submissively awaited his final judgment. "It's no big deal. Go over and ask my son if he has fully vented his anger yet. If he's done, then summon the cleanup crew." The hotel owner did not hesitate for a second, subsequently ordered his men while turning toward me with a completely sycophantic, flattering face. "Young master, how do you view this matter?" My dad looked at me and waved his hand dismissively. "Son, this has originally been our family's hotel all along. I only have one single son, which is you. How could I ever let my own blood stand here and suffer such raw humiliation?" My father's explosive revelation instantly sent my brain into a completely frozen state of shock. This magnificent Earl Winding Hotel was easily the most luxurious, elite landmark in the entire capital. Whenever I usually walk past it, I only dare to glance at it with eyes full of pure awe and envy. Yet now, my dad was casually telling me that this massive hotel belonged to our family, and that I am actually a filthy, rich second-generation heir. All right, you brat. Previously, you were still far too green and naive, so your mother and I purposefully kept you completely in the dark. But now, the time has finally come for you to know the truth. My father flicked away the cigarette ash from his hand, shoved his hands deep into his pockets, and strolled toward the private executive elevator. "Old Zhao, you wait for me right here." Several breathtakingly beautiful receptionists immediately bowed deeply and rushed forward, pressing the elevator button for my father. Feeling utterly suspended in disbelief, I mindlessly followed right behind my dad's footsteps, while the hotel owner downstairs finally let out a massive sigh of relief. "You had to offend the young master. Let's see how you survive this now. If the young master remains unhappy, I'll end up suffering a catastrophic downfall right along with you." The waitress panicked completely, her legs turning to absolute jelly as she collapsed helplessly onto the floor. Because who on earth could have guessed that this loser who just got brutally dumped by his girlfriend was actually the sole heir and son of the hotel's big boss? "Ha ha. Usually at home, I've never seen you sitting up this straight and stiff before. All right, relax. I've already discussed this thoroughly with your mother. The massive burden of our clan's legacy. It's time to pass it down to you. You've grown up, after all. The business empire here in the capital. It's time for you to completely take the reins." Before I could even process what was happening, my dad had already summoned a venerable old man of about 60 years old into the executive office, and firmly instructed him, "From this moment on, everything regarding this brat is handed over to you. Take him along and get him fully acquainted with our operations." "Understood." My dad cast another sidelong glance at me. "Listen up, kid. The vast business empire of our Lin family cannot be fully explained in just a word or two. Take this card." I instinctively glanced down at it, asking, how much money is loaded inside this thing? Let's just say with your current spending capabilities, you won't even be able to burn through it all. Knowing your mistakes is enough. Right then, my phone suddenly vibrated wildly. I glanced down and saw it was a call from my college class monitor. "Tonight is our 3-year graduation anniversary class reunion. Lin Chuan, you absolutely have to show up, okay? 8 o'clock. Sharp tonight at the Winding Xingyue Clubhouse." Before I could even utter a response, the other side abruptly hung up. My father flashed a deeply meaningful smile. "All right then, hurry up and go. Go hang out with your friends and have some real fun. I'm giving you a critical mission. Burn through 1 million yuan first. Don't you dare tell your old man that you don't even know how to spend money properly, got it?" I was caught completely between tears and laughter. With that tone, was he seriously forcing me to master the art of burning cash? The Winding Xingyue Clubhouse was the most elite, high-end establishment under the Earl Winding Group, specifically reserved for hosting major, heavy-hitting, high-society figures. Being able to book this entire venue for a reunion this time was undoubtedly thanks to the immense wealth and privilege of our resident young master, Chu Yang. Following the exact agreed time, I calmly stepped into the most luxurious private VIP suite of the Xingyue clubhouse. The roaringly lively room instantly fell into a dead, suffocating silence. Dozens of pairs of eyes simultaneously locked onto me, filled with blatant contempt, mocking derision, and critical scrutiny. The class monitor stood up first. Lin Chuan, I was honestly worried you wouldn't show up. You're officially the last one to arrive. Was the traffic absolutely brutal out there today? I walked straight toward an empty seat and shrugged casually. No clue. I didn't really pay much attention along the way. Lin Chuan, in this heavy downpour, calling a cab must have been a total nightmare, right? Zhang Min, a classmate who used to share the same floor as me, chimed in. Lin Chuan, just how many years have you been rocking that exact same outfit? I've actually got a few old clothes lying around. Do you want to take them and wear them for now? Even a complete idiot could instantly hear the dripping sarcasm in his voice. He was absolutely convinced that I didn't even own a car. I calmly took a sip of tea. I drove here myself. Besides, the place I'm staying at is quite close by, so traffic wasn't an issue at all. The location of this clubhouse is prime. But there don't seem to be any residential areas around here at all, do there? Where exactly do you live? The speaker was Tan Zishu. He wore black-rimmed glasses, his hair slicked back to look quite slick and dapper, and sitting right next to him was a female classmate dripping head to toe in luxury designer brands. Directly east of the clubhouse is Shengdao International, within a 2-kilometer radius that is literally the only residential property around. Lin Chuan, don't tell me you actually live there? I immediately recognized her as Li Yun from our college days. Back then, every single time she strutted past me, she would flash a look of pure disgust. Right at this moment, someone chimed in to back her up, saying, Hey Li Yun, every single property over at Shengdao International consists of ultra-luxury suites spanning over 400 square meters and the price per square meter alone. Even if you sold your entire ancestral home, you probably still couldn't even afford a single square meter. There, Li Yun let out a mocking sneer, throwing a condescending glare right at me. Lin Chuan, where on earth do you actually live anyway? Cut the pathetic act and just spit out the truth already. At most, I'll just tell my man Lao Lu to hunt down a rental room for you. Something cheap, nice, and budget-friendly. The entire private room erupted into roaring laughter, surrounded by mocking giggles and taunts. But then it hit me. I recalled that regarding that Shengdao International area, I actually do own a luxury villa there, though I only found out tonight that my dad had already prepared an elite mansion and a supercar for me. However, at this exact moment, I couldn't care less to waste my breath on them. I'm staying at the estate right next door. The very next second, several classmates burst into thunderous laughter, without making a single attempt to hide it. Lin Chuan, we haven't crossed paths in years. How are you still so obsessed with flexing? You're staying right next door? You mean that trashy little motel? That costs a couple of bucks a night, right? I traced the arrogant voice, locking eyes with Chuya, whose face was completely dripping with pure disdain. She had been my absolute, sworn archenemy throughout our entire 4 years of college. But beneath the surface between us, there lay a much deeper, darker reason for this bad blood. I calmly turned my head, locking my gaze on a Tang Yuru, who was currently snuggled next to Chu Yang. She was my freshly minted ex-girlfriend, the exact same woman for whom I had previously schemed through hundreds of desperate ways just to win her heart. Tang Yuru possessed a truly breathtaking appearance, reigning as the universally recognized campus belle of our class. Her family ran a successful minor enterprise. Back when I first entered college at the naive age of 18, it was only natural to easily fall head over heels for beautiful women, the sheer number of guys desperately chasing after Tang Yuru was enough to wrap around the campus stadium twice over. But thanks to being in the exact same class, I fully capitalized on the ultimate advantage of proximity, dogging her footsteps day in and day out. As long as it was humanly possible, I went to hell and back to provide her with the absolute best. Every single sacrifice was something I willingly and gladly endured, all just to catch a fleeting glimpse of her smile. Yet today, the brutal reality had finally broken through my thick skull. Every bit of it was nothing more than a pathetic, one-sided clown show. It turns out that pouring your heart out with pure sincerity won't always earn you a single shred of genuine affection in return. I watched the two of them locking their hands together, laughing and chatting. So, you two are officially together now? If so, congratulations. Lin Chuan, don't you dare blame me for this. Who told you to be such a lazy, unmotivated loser? Dang. Yuru flawlessly maintained her elegant, poised facade, flashing a faint, detached smile in my direction. That completely guilt-free, indifferent expression plastered across her face made it seem as though the person she brutally crushed and humiliated today wasn't even me. Whatever happened between us is ancient history now. Lin Chuan, I also wish you the best in finding someone more suitable for your level. My personal business is none of your concern, so don't flatter yourselves. I'm still young. There's absolutely no rush. Oh, please, cut the young crap. The harsh reality is that absolutely no decent woman would ever look twice at a broke loser like you. Almost every single person present nodded their heads in vicious agreement, their gazes drilling into me with even deeper contempt and biting sarcasm. Some individuals went so far as to openly mock and ridicule me without hesitation. I had barely been in a room for 5 minutes, and before my seat could even get warm, they had already completely branded me as a homeless, carless nobody, someone who didn't even possess a single decent, respectable job. But right at that moment, the VIP suite door was abruptly pushed open, and a security guard stepped inside, asking in a loud, echoing voice, "Excuse me, which esteemed guest here owns the Lamborghini parked outside?" Huh, what's going on? May I ask which of you owns the Lamborghini outside? Your vehicle was just scraped slightly by another guest car. The other owner is desperately looking for you to settle the compensation. The entire VIP suite instantly fell into a dead, absolute silence. The mocking giggles and toxic taunts from just a second ago vanished without a trace. A Lamborghini, that's a legendary supercar, worth tens of millions of yuan. Holy crap, that's insane. Who in our class is actually rolling in such a filthy, rich ride? Could it possibly belong to Chu Yang? Obviously, he's the only one with the absolute financial power to pull that off. A smug, arrogant smirk instantly plastered itself across Chu Yang's face. Right as he opened his mouth, preparing to smugly dismiss it, I calmly raised my hand, gesturing directly toward the security guard. "It's mine. Go back out and tell the other guest. That driving in this heavy rain is brutal, so it's fine. There's absolutely no need for any compensation." The moment my voice echoed through the room, the entire luxury suite plunged into absolute dead silence. The security guard bowed, turned around, and walked back out. The private room remained as silent as a graveyard. Every single soul stared at me in complete, unadulterated shock. Several agonizing seconds later, Chu Yang was the absolute first to snap out of it. He violently slammed his hand down onto the dining table, using someone else's supercar just to clout chase and flex for yourself. Wow, Lin Chuan, you're seriously something else, aren't you? Tan Zishu also shook his head, scoffing with deep mockery. Lin Chuan, quit acting a fool and playing games. Watch out, or the actual owner of that car will come roll up on you and settle the score right now. The class monitor, seemingly sensing that the tense atmosphere had become incredibly awkward and strained, hurriedly raised his wine glass and stood up. "All right, fellow classmates, allow me to say a few quick words first. Cheers to our grand 3-year graduation anniversary. Secondly, let's give a massive shout-out to our classmate, Chu Yang, for organizing this momentous reunion at such an elite venue, allowing all of us to finally open our eyes to high society luxury." Lian immediately chimed in to suck up. "You guys aren't lying at all. This clubhouse is hands down the absolute hardest place to book a table in the entire capital. Even my man Lao Lu has only managed to step foot in this place a single time." The smug, condescending satisfaction on Chu Yang's face grew increasingly pronounced. He cast a supercilious, sidelong glance at me, speaking in a charity-granting, patronizing tone. "Hey, Lin Chuan, a legendary establishment like this is probably something you've never even heard of in your life, right? When you head back later, make sure to pack some of these leftovers for your poor parents, all right?" My fist clenched violently. If you could say that just moments ago, I was still holding back out of respect for our old school days, not wanting to blow things out of proportion and make the situation messy, forcing myself to swallow their insults time and time again. Then right now, I felt there was absolutely no reason to hold back anymore. Trash talk me all you want, but insulting my parents is a line you absolutely do not cross without paying the price. I slowly wrapped my fingers around the wine glass on the table, lifting it up, a cold, unreadable smirk spreading across my lips. As I locked eyes with Chu Yang, suddenly, since you're showing such immense goodwill, then allow me to toast you a glass to thank you for your generous patronizing. A look of raw, unadulterated contempt flashed across Chu Yang's face. He scoffed with a smug chuckle. What's this? Only now you realize you need to suck up and kiss my ass? Where was that energy earlier? As he spoke, he arrogantly lifted his own glass, brimming with supreme hubris, waiting for me to submissively toast him. But in the very next split second, my wrist snapped violently forward, and the ice-cold red wine in my glass instantly erupted straight through the air. Without missing by a single millimeter, it splashed directly onto Chu Yang's high-end, custom designer suit. The entire private suite instantly fell into a dead, horrified silence. The smugness and hubris plastered on Chu Yang's face froze completely, before being violently replaced by a wave of pure, unbridled fury. He stood up with an explosive rage, pointing a shaking finger directly at my face. You absolute piece of trash. Where the hell is security? Get the head of security in here right now. Drag this delusional psycho out of here immediately. You actually dare to throw wine in my face. I see you're completely tired of living. I stood rooted to the spot, completely unfazed without moving a single muscle, keeping that same cold, mocking smirk frozen on the corner of my lips. I bet you won't even be able to lay a single finger on me. The moment the words left my mouth, a burly, towering man, clad in a sleek black security uniform, marched swiftly into the room. Young Master Chu, what on earth happened? Who dared to cross you? That man was none other than the head of clubhouse security, Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng and Chu Yang shared an incredibly close, tight-knit relationship. Whenever Chu Yang visited the establishment, it was always him who personally received and catered to the young heir. He obeyed Chu Yang's every single whim like a loyal dog. The second he saw Zhao Feng arrive, Chu Yang pointed a trembling finger directly at me and bellowed, "It's him. Drag this trash outside and beat him within an inch of his life. Make him understand exactly what kind of agonizing nightmare awaits anyone who dares to cross me." Zhao Feng glared at me, his eyes dripping with pure, unadulterated contempt and vicious malice. Without wasting a single breath on words, he roared out toward the entrance, "Where are my men? Drag this arrogant, clueless little brat who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth out of my sight right now." Two muscular guards immediately burst through the door, bracing themselves to step forward and pin me down. Right at this exact moment, the young receptionist guard who had previously asked about the car owner re-entered the suite and approached me, his posture extraordinarily reverent and bowing. "Respected sir, I am incredibly sorry for disturbing you yet again, but the situation is like this. Your vehicle is currently parked in a slightly problematic spot. Just a moment ago, another car driving past almost scraped it for a second time. Perhaps if you could kindly hand over the car keys to me, I can personally assist you in relocating it to the exclusive VIP parking zone, ensuring that absolutely no further mishaps will occur." The exact moment those words echoed across the room, Zhao Feng's aggressive movements instantly froze mid-air. He snapped his head toward the young guard, then looked back at me, his face warping into a mocking scoff. "Just based on this broke loser, you're seriously claiming he's the owner of a legendary Lamborghini? Kid, did your brain get completely waterlogged, or what?" He marched forward and violently shoved the young guard aside, pointing directly at my face as he threatened, "Let me tell you something, boy. Not only did you brutally offend young Master Chu today, but you also have the absolute audacity to masquerade as a Lamborghini owner. I'm going to contact the actual owner of that supercar right this second and have him come down here to personally ruin you." I remained completely unfazed by his pathetic, raging bellows, not even bothering to lift my eyes to cast a single glance in his direction. Instead, I merely reached down at a leisurely pace and calmly reached into my pocket, before slowly pulling my hand out, and pulled a sleek car key directly out of my coat pocket. The metallic head of the key proudly displayed the iconic, legendary charging bull emblem of Lamborghini, crafted with breathtaking precision and gleaming brilliantly under the ambient lights. As long as one wasn't completely blind, anyone could instantly recognize its absolute authenticity. The suffocating atmosphere inside. The private VIP suite plunged right back into a dead, paralyzed silence. Every single person in the room stared with bulging eyes, their mouths hanging wide open as they locked onto the key resting in my palm. Pure, unadulterated shock warped every single face. The very classmates who had just been aggressively competing to mock and belittle me were now staring with eyes wide enough to pop out, completely freezing up, not even daring to breathe a single gasp of air. In no way. Lin Chuan, what on earth is the meaning of this? Lian also wiped that trashy, contemptuous smirk off her face in a panicked rush, her eyes instantly overflowing with pure panic and overwhelming curiosity, as she endlessly scrutinized me from head to toe. Meanwhile, Chu Yang's face rapidly fluctuated between a sickly green and a deathly pale white, looking exponentially more pathetic than when he had just been drenched in red wine. Lin Chuan, quit your pathetic acting. You actually went out your way to buy a cheap knockoff key just to flex and clout chase. Do you honestly believe you can fool all of us with a brainless stunt like this? Let me tell you right now, it's absolutely not going to fly. The exact millisecond his desperate words left his mouth, the heavy door of the luxury suite was once again violently thrown open. The general manager of the entire clubhouse, Director Wang, clad in a flawlessly tailored crisp suit, but carrying an expression of absolute panic, strode with massive, frantic steps into the room. Behind him, he brought along an entire entourage of senior staff. The moment he stepped inside, he immediately executed a profound, 90-degree bow directly toward me, his voice trembling with deep, unvarnished terror. Young Master Lin, I am so incredibly, deeply sorry. It is entirely due to my pathetic, incompetent management that these blind, low-life fools have dared to insult and offend your esteemed presence. Those 3 words, young Master Lin, acted like a devastating, ticking time bomb that violently detonated inside the private VIP suite. Every single soul in the room was driven into absolute, total catatonia. Zhao Feng, who had been oozing pure arrogance and flexing his authority just a second ago, now had a face drained entirely of blood. Director Wang, what on earth did you just call this guy? Young Master Lin? Him. Director Wang snapped his head around, glaring daggers of pure fury at Zhao Feng, his eyes burning with absolute rage mixed with deep, terrified anxiety. You absolute blind bastard. This esteemed gentleman right here is the sole heir and young master of our ultimate big boss, young Master Lin Chuan. The entire Wending Earl Hotel, the Wending Xingyue Clubhouse, and literally half of the entire high-end luxury industry in this capital belong to his family. Every single asset belongs to young Master Lin's family. And you, absolute piece of trash, actually dare to lay your filthy hands on young Master Lin. You're completely tired of living, aren't you? Zhao Feng was so consumed by pure terror that his entire body trembled violently, and he instantly fell to his knees, collapsing heavily onto the floor right before me. His forehead was completely drenched in cold, beaded sweat. Young Master Lin, I am so incredibly sorry. I was completely blind and had no eyes. I had absolutely no idea about your true, legendary identity. Please, I beg you to show immense mercy and magnanimity. Just spare my pathetic life this once, sir. At this exact moment, the former classmates inside the suite completely erupted into chaos. The toxic contempt and mocking derision previously plastered across their faces had long vanished without leaving a single trace, violently replaced instead by absolute mind-blowing shock and a sickeningly shameless, desperate urge to suck up. Zhang Min was the absolute first to react. He rushed forward with frantic paces, his face twisting into an utterly sycophantic, flattering smile. Hey, Lin Chuan. Wow, I honestly never expected that you would become this incredibly successful and wealthy. Just a moment ago, it was entirely due to my complete ignorance. I should have never looked down on you. Please be the bigger man. And don't hold a grudge against me. All right? Liyun also rushed forward in a frantic haze, her eyes completely overflowing with cloying, flirtatious sycophancy. Lin Chuan, honestly, I sensed from the very beginning that you possessed a uniquely majestic aura. You were absolutely destined to never be an ordinary man. Every single one of those classmates who had been eagerly crowding around just moments ago to shamelessly hype up Chu Yang were now aggressively competing to swarm over to my side. Each and every one of them was desperately kissing my ass, offering non-stop, groveling apologies. Tang Yuru stood there entirely frozen, her mind completely blank. She slowly let go of Chu Yang's hand, standing paralyzed right where she was. Within her wide-eyed gaze, there was now nothing left but overwhelming shock, bitter regret, and deep, agonizing resentment. She couldn't bring herself to believe this brutal reality no matter what. Meanwhile, Chu Yang looked as though his entire soul and strength had been violently drained right out of him, collapsing powerlessly into his chair. His face was deathly pale, and his lips trembled as he endlessly muttered under his breath. This is impossible. This is absolutely impossible. How on earth can a loser like Lin Chuan be the supreme young master of the entire winning group? At this exact moment, the background privilege Chu Yang had always flexed with immense pride was completely and utterly crushed into dust. I didn't even bother to give a single damn about their disgusting, groveling flattery or their pathetic apologies, only directing a cold, indifferent voice toward Director Wang. First, have someone park my supercar properly. Second, fire this head of security immediately. From this moment on, make sure he never sets foot in any commercial establishment owned by the Wending Group. Understood, young master. I will execute your orders. Immediately, Director Wang hurriedly bowed his spine, responding with utmost reverence. Right away, Director Wang hurriedly bowed down and responded. Then he whirled around, barking savagely at Zhao Feng. You are officially terminated. Get the hell out of my sight right now. Zhao Feng, swallowing his bitter resentment, slunk out of the room like a defeated dog. Watching my newly unveiled, dominant stance right now, the sheer jealousy and burning fury bubbling within Chu Yang's chest instantly hit its absolute boiling point. He violently snapped his head up, glaring daggers directly at me with a savage, predatory gaze. Lin Chuan, don't you dare flex so arrogantly. Do you honestly believe this exclusive clubhouse was booked using your pathetic connections? I turned my head toward the general manager. Speaking at a slow, calculated pace, Director Wang enlightened them. Let them know exactly who permitted them to book a table here. Director Wang bowed reverently and replied, Young master, it turns out Mr. Chu Yang over here begged and pulled strings with a low-level staff member of this clubhouse to sneakily secure a reservation behind our backs. According to our establishment's strict regulations, an insignificant nobody of Mr. Chu Yang's social standing has absolutely zero right to even set foot in our luxury VIP suites. If it weren't out of pure respect for you, young master, since you personally graced this venue with your presence tonight, we would have thrown these clowns out onto the streets hours ago. This devastating revelation instantly annihilated the very last shred of Chu Yang's pathetic pride. 527, I gazed upon the chaotic, pathetic train wreck before my eyes. I stared blankly at the absolutely chaotic, catastrophic mess right in front of my eyes, and my heart didn't even register a single flicker of pity, only an overwhelmingly intoxicating rush of pure satisfaction surging through my veins. I stood up, casually adjusting my collar, my voice smooth and level. I honestly never even intended to show up to this reunion tonight. If everyone had just minded their own damn business and enjoyed a peaceful meal together, none of this drama would have ever happened. But then again, who else can you blame when certain people's mouths are just so incredibly toxic? Since things have reached this pathetic point, I have absolutely no desire to waste another second here. If you clowns want to continue your party, feel free. I'm heading out. With that, I turn my gaze back to Director Wang. Furthermore, put every single expense incurred tonight directly on my personal tab. Understood, young master. Stepping through the grand Towering next to the clubhouse, I took a deep, heavy breath and let out a sigh of pure relief. It turns out, viciously clapping back at the exact lowlifes who used to trample all over you is an absolute, unadulterated high. My dad was right. As the sole heir of the legendary Lin family, I am absolutely forbidden from swallowing an ounce of disrespect. By the time I returned to the hotel, the clock was already pointing dangerously close to midnight. I hastily went through a sloppy night routine and crashed hard onto the bed, instantly falling asleep. The next morning, the aggressive blaring of my ringtone jolted me awake. The moment I cracked my eyes open, I saw my dad was calling. "You absolute brat. I heard you caused quite a spectacular, chaotic scene last night, huh?" Out of pure reflex, I opened my mouth preparing to offer an apology, but in the very next split second, my dad barked with laughter. "Outstanding job. That's exactly how a true son of our legendary Lin family should behave. Never swallow your pride. If someone crosses you, crush them completely until the bitter end." Alright, I totally forgot to mention something major to you. 2 years ago, your mother and I arranged a marriage alliance for you, with the ultimate heiress of the powerful Su family, Su Yuanqing. The girl just freshly returned from her studies abroad. That young lady is not only breathtakingly gorgeous, but her temperament is also incredibly sweet and charming. Are you free today? Go meet up with her. I'll text you the location coordinates in a bit. Before I could even utter a single word, my old man abruptly hung up on me, realizing it was already creeping past midday. I prepared to grab some lunch, but right there in the hotel lobby, my eyes locked onto a sickeningly familiar figure. It was none other than Tang Yuru. The absolute second she spotted me, she sprinted over with an overjoyed expression. I coldly sidestepped her advance, flawlessly dodging her hands just as she tried to desperately lock arms with me. "Lin Chuan, I knew for an absolute certainty that you would show up here. I've been waiting around for you for ages. Can we please have a proper, mature talk?" I replied, utterly speechless. "There's absolutely nothing left for us to talk about. I take back our breakup from yesterday. Can we please just get back together, babe?" My head spun at her sheer audacity. "Do you honestly think I'm some pathetic toy you can just summon and discard whenever you feel like it? You think you could just snap your fingers to get back together, and then scream for a breakup whenever you please?" 585. A wave of absolute awkwardness flashed across Tang Yuru's face. A brief wave of absolute awkwardness flashed right across Tang Yuru's face. But she instantly softened her voice, whining, "Lin Chuan, it's not what you think at all. It was entirely Chu Yang who forced my hand. A while ago, my family's corporation ran into a catastrophic financial crisis. Chu Yang explicitly promised that as long as I stayed by his side, he would personally bail my family out of that absolute nightmare. So now that you see my family commands a massive, unstoppable empire, you're desperately trying to leech onto this golden ticket instead." Perhaps my sharp words had brutally pierced right through her scheming heart, because Tang Yuru's voice suddenly mutated into a shrill, piercing shriek. "Lin Chuan, I admit I made a mistake before. The only man I truly love is you. Can you please just grant me one more golden opportunity? I swear that from now on, I will absolutely treat you like royalty." I stared blankly at her utterly hypocritical, disgusting face, finding the entire situation profoundly laughable. "An opportunity? Listen here, Tang Yuru. Do you honestly think I still need a superficial, gold-digging clout chaser like you in my life?" Every single word cut through her like a jagged blade, leaving Tang Yuru's face utterly drained of color as heavy tears poured down her cheeks uncontrollably. I didn't waste another single second on her, turning away to immediately dial Chen Shu, ordering him to arrange a personal driver to take me straight to the Su family estate. Funnily enough, this time around, Chen Shu actually assigned a female chauffeur to pick me up. She was an absolute stunner of a girl, and her driving skills were incredibly sharp. After a swift 40-minute cruise, the vehicle pulled up and came to a stop in front of a majestic, sprawling villa. This definitely didn't look like the Su family ancestral estate. Noticing my visibly puzzled reaction, the gorgeous girl offered a sweet smile. "This right here is your brand new bridal suite." "Bridal suite? For me, and who exactly?" "For you and me, of course." I whipped my head around to stare blankly at her, instantly catching her crescent-shaped eyes curving with playful amusement. "Hello there, I'm Su Yuanqing." She proactively extended her slender hand toward me. I squeezed out an awkward, sheepish smile and hurriedly reached out to shake her hand back. I'm so sorry. I had absolutely no idea it was you just now. Su Yuanqing let out a soft chuckle, her tone incredibly gentle and soothing. It's totally fine. After we get married, we'll have all the time in the world to get to know each other properly. Hold up. My old man explicitly stated this was just a casual meetup. So how on earth did it suddenly turn into an official marriage? Just as I opened my mouth to ask her what crazy scheme was going on, a booming voice suddenly echoed down from the grand balcony above. You absolute brat. Hurry your ass up here and check out your new bridal suite. I quickly made my way upstairs alongside Su Yuanqing. It wasn't until much later that I finally discovered the truth. My dad had long solidified this arranged marriage with the Su family, and the wedding date was locked in for the end of next month. His original master plan was simply to have the two of us interact and spend some time together beforehand. If neither side had any major objections, we would tie the knot first, leaving the romance to be nurtured over time. First of all, with the immense backing and political leverage of the powerful Su family, I could easily secure an absolute, unshakable foothold within the Lin Corporation. Secondly, this massive business marriage between the legendary Su and Lin clans would also ensure that the mega joint venture between the Lin Corporation and the Su conglomerate would become completely bulletproof. Naturally, I didn't feel any desire to reject this strategic marriage alliance. After all, choosing my own partner last time only resulted in a knife to the back, so why not just trust the impeccable judgment of my own parents? Besides, after spending a few days getting to know Su Yuanqing, she truly proved to be an incredibly sweet, high-value woman. The grand wedding was officially locked in for January 19th. On that monumental day, the venue was absolutely packed with elite high society guests, ranging from powerful CEOs to influential tycoons across the capital, all gathered just to toast to our joyous union. At exactly 11 o'clock, the ceremony officially commenced. Under the eagerly anticipating gazes of the entire crowd, Su Yuanqing slowly and elegantly glided into the wedding hall. But right at this exact moment, a sudden, chaotic uproar erupted from the seating area down below. It was none other than Tang Yuru and her toxic bestie, Li Yun. I had absolutely no clue how she even discovered I was holding my wedding here. Tang Yuru was acting like a total lunatic right now, violently shoving aside anyone who dared to block her path, her bloodshot eyes staring daggers straight up at the center stage. This completely unexpected, chaotic scene instantly captured the undivided attention of every single distinguished guest in attendance. However, I remained incredibly unfazed and composed. I turned my head to look at Su Yuanqing, hastily offering a brief explanation. I am so sorry, but they're former college classmates of mine. Is it possible to briefly pause the ceremony for just a brief moment? Give me a few minutes to go over and deal with them, all right? Su Yuanqing nodded her head with complete understanding. I gestured with my hand, signaling the staff to temporarily pause the music from the very beginning until now. Tang Yuru's intense gaze remained viciously locked onto my body, never shifting away for even a single solitary second. So when you claimed you would never forgive me, it was all just to marry this absolute woman. Witnessing her ridiculously furious, unhinged state, I honestly couldn't help but let out a cold, mocking sneer. Exactly who I choose to marry has absolutely zero to do with you. Tang Yuru was so thoroughly triggered by my sharp words that she actually let out a hysterical laugh. She shut her eyes tight and snapped them open, the depths of her gaze burning with an absolute wildfire of rage. So this is the real reason you sneakily got married behind my back? What on earth do you mean by sneakily? The grand marriage alliance between the Su and Lin families has been trending all over the internet for an entire month already. Tang Yuru, do you literally live under a rock without internet access? Hearing this, Tang Yuru looked as if she suddenly recollected something, whirling her head around to look at the gorgeous bride standing beside me. Her pupils abruptly dilated to their absolute limits as she found it utterly impossible to believe that Su Yuanqing's official groom was actually me. Furthermore, she dared not believe that I was the sole, supreme heir to the absolute largest conglomerate in the entire capital, the Lin Corporation. I stared at her with an absolute, deadly calm. To be completely precise, I am the next rightful successor to the massive Lin Corporation, and the official husband of Su Yuanqing. Do you too have any other pathetic questions regarding my true identity? This devastating string of elite titles instantly struck Tang Yuru and her toxic friend completely, utterly speechless. Within our insignificant college classmates circle, Tang Yuru could admittedly act like a big shot and rule the roost. But this right here was the grand marriage alliance of the two most powerful titanic clans in the capital, the Lin and Su families. Their pathetic little background was entirely unqualified to even be mentioned in front of the Lin and Su families. After what felt like an eternity of suffocating silence, Tang Yuru finally croaked out in a raspy, trembling voice. Why did you never once tell me about your true, legendary identity before this? Well, you had plenty of filthy secrets from me too, didn't you? For instance, the exact night, right before we officially broke up, you were busy thrashing around in Chu Yang's bed. Those few sharp, cutting words instantly drained every drop of color from Tang Yuru's face, leaving her pale as a sheet. She panicked completely, desperately trying to construct a frantic excuse. That, I can't completely explain. That night, he forced himself on me. If I hadn't complied, he wouldn't have saved my family. I had absolutely zero desire to waste any more breath on her. Just as I raised my hand to signal security to throw them out onto the streets, Tang Yuru stubbornly shrieked out, Lin Xuan, why on earth are you so willing to marry a woman you barely even met a short while ago, yet you utterly refuse to grant forgiveness to? Someone who stayed loyal by your side for 2 whole years like me. I took a deliberate step backward, strictly maintaining my distance. If my memory serves me correctly, we have already broken up. Why do you think you have to control my life? But the engagement between you two was sealed over a month ago. Back then, we hadn't even officially broken up yet. So you're already lining up your next options behind my back. I crossed my arms, throwing a freezing, mocking glance at her, my tone remaining completely unbothered. If you could sleep with Chu Yang first before dragging me into a breakup, then me planning a single month ahead to secure my own escape route. Is there honestly anything wrong with that? Those few vicious truths completely choked the words right out of Tang Yuru, leaving her totally tongue-tied. She desperately lunged forward a step, trying to grab hold of my arm, but I violently slapped her hand away. I didn't even bother to give her another single glance, turning on my heel to walk back up to the center stage. The exact millisecond or two of us brushed past one another, Tang Yuru completely snapped, reaching out and violently yanking me back. The very last thread of my patience had finally reached its absolute limit. I fiercely shoved her off me, but right as the two of us were tangled in that brief struggle, the massive, heavy vintage chandelier hanging directly above our heads abruptly snapped with a deafening screech, plummeting like a missile straight toward my skull. In that split second of absolute, lethal danger, Tang Yuru purely pushed me aside out of sheer instinct. A deafening, metal-shattering crash echoed through the entire hall as the iron chandelier, weighing dozens of kilograms, slammed violently right into her shoulder. Su Yuanqing immediately rushed over, yanking me backward. I couldn't stop myself from whipping my head around to look, only to see Tang Yuru collapsing helplessly into a growing pool of crimson blood. The security team rushed to the scene upon hearing the chaos swarming forward to check on Tang Yuru's severe injuries. If I was hurt anywhere, only after ensuring that I was completely safe and unscathed did she let out a heavy sigh of relief, guiding me away from this absolute train wreck of a drama scene. The grand wedding ceremony had no choice but to be temporarily postponed. The very next time I received any updates regarding Tang Yuru was exactly 3 days later, when I received an aggressive phone call from Lin Xuan, how can you possibly be this cold-blooded and heartless? Yuru suffered such catastrophic injuries just to save your pathetic life. Yet you haven't even bothered to visit her a single time. Hearing her toxic accusations, I had absolutely zero intention of letting them dump this filthy blame on my head. I let out a sharp, freezing sneer. If it weren't for her, obsessively dragging me down and refusing to let go. That chandelier would have never snapped and fallen in the first place. Her getting severely injured is purely her reaping what she sowed. How on earth are you twisting this to blame me? I don't care about any of your logic. The undeniable fact remains that she still chose to push you out of harm's way at the literal brink of life and death. Are you seriously going to abandon every single shred of your past history together? I was honestly halfway impressed by the sheer, shameless audacity and the masterclass ability she possessed to twist the absolute truth. I refuse to waste another single second of my breath on her nonsense. Lian, quit trying to gaslight and extort me here. Whatever happens to Tang Yuru has absolutely zero to do with me. If you keep barking this utter garbage, I'm hanging up right now. The absolute millisecond the words left my lips, a frail, weak voice echoed from the other end of the line. It was completely dripping with Tang Yuru's deep, unadulterated venom. It was glaringly obvious she had violently snatched the phone right out of Li Yun's hand. Lin Chuan, don't you dare hang up. I know you couldn't care less about my life now, but you absolutely cannot afford to ignore the fate of your own precious marriage alliance, can you? I furrow my brows, my tone icy cold. What on earth does my marriage have to do with a psycho like you? It has everything to do with me. Tang Yuru's voice suddenly spiked into a shrill, piercing shriek, overflowing with a wave of absolute, unhinged madness and desperate threats. If you don't come to this hospital to see me right now, I will commit suicide. When that happens, I'll make damn sure journalists blast articles everywhere, stating that the elite heir of the Lin Corporation abandoned his loyal ex-girlfriend for a corporate merger, driving her to a tragic death. When the time comes, let's see if the prestigious Su family is still willing to go through with this marriage alliance. With you. Before I could even open my mouth to fire back, Su Yuanqing abruptly snatched the phone straight out of my hand, her tone dropping to absolute sub-zero temperatures. Miss Tang, I have shown you immense tolerance only because you managed to save Lin Chuan's life at the wedding. That is the sole reason I have repeatedly compromised and let things slide. Lin Chuan may be soft-hearted enough to spare your family because of your past history, but I personally feel absolutely zero connection or sympathy toward the Tang family. Su Yuanqing's voice remained incredibly smooth and level, yet every single word was laced with absolute, terrifying malice. I believe Miss Tang is a smart enough woman to know exactly which option to choose. Those few short, piercing words instantly sent Tang Yuru's heart plummeting straight into a dark, bottomless abyss. After all, with the absolute, monstrous authority wielded by the Su family, it would only take a single casual sentence from Su Yuanqing to make the entire Tang family business completely vanish from the capital overnight. Tang Yuru simply did not possess the courage to gamble her entire clan survival, leaving her with no choice but to swallow her bitter resentment and rage, frantically slamming the phone down to end the call. Unsurprisingly, from that exact moment onward, Tang Yuru never once dared to bother us ever again. However, just a few short days later, news rapidly broke out that the Tang family had officially gone bankrupt. Word on the street was that the Tang family's corporation was already teetering on the absolute brink of total collapse from their previous financial crisis, relying entirely on the minor financial lifelines thrown by the Chu family to barely stay afloat. But the exact moment Chu Yang discovered that Tang Yuru had sneakily crawled back to beg for my mercy, the Chu family instantly and completely severed all ties with the Tang clan, completely stripped of the Chu family's financial backing. The Tang family's capital chain snapped instantly and catastrophically, leaving them drowning in an absolute mountain of unpayable debt, until they had no choice but to declare total bankruptcy. A month later, the grand wedding ceremony between myself and Su Yuanqing proceeded flawlessly exactly as scheduled. This time around, absolutely no clown showed up to disrupt the event. The wedding was celebrated on an incredibly grand, majestic, and unprecedented scale. Every single powerful titan and high society mogul in the entire capital gathered together to offer their congratulations. The mega alliance between the Lin Corporation and the Su conglomerate became completely unshakable and absolute, sealed forever by this legendary marriage.